Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a full review of the first book in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn trilogy, The Final Empire, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. 1,000 years ago, there was an event, a catastrophe, this something set out to destroy the world, something that no one now even really knows what it was, called the Deepness. A hero of ages was the one that was said to save the world, save them all, but you wouldn't know that the world was saved by what's happened to it. This hero is none other than a guy that is known now in this world as the Lord Ruler. He's their emperor, their god, this sliver of infinity that's reigned over the final empire, a barren, desolate place where the sky isn't blue, nature isn't green, ash falls perpetually from the sky, covering everything in soot, and the mists come at night, in which no normal person dares to wander off in for 1,000 years. For 1,000 years, he's held complete control over everything and everyone. The noblemen, the ancestors of those who helped him rise to power, and the Ska, the people that are barely treated as humans, the slaves to the noblemen. He is seen to be immortal, and he cannot be killed, and he is the ultimate everything to even the Ska, who are treated so badly in the society. Though there are people in this world that came with the mists 1,000 years ago, not much is known of their origins, but many know of their existence and their power. The Allomancers. Allomancy is, for lack of a better word, a kind of magic that allows the Allomancer to control, take in metal, and ingest it, and burn it within themselves to do various things depending on what the metal is. There are two types of Allomancers. The first one is the Mistings, and there are several types of Mistings. A Misting can only use one metal, take in one metal, and use it the way that metal is meant to be used. Iron pushes on nearby metals, and steel pulls on nearby metals. Tin enhances your senses, and pewter enhances physical abilities like strength. Brass soothes people's emotions, and zinc riots people's emotions. Copper can hide Allomancy, creating a sort of cloud around Allomancers and their abilities, and bronze can detect Allomancy. So there are various mistings that can use each of those 8 metals, and there are 2 other metals that make up the 10 really well-known metals. But the mistings can use one of those 8. And then there are the Mistborn, who can use all of the metals. In all of their various uses, they can use all of them, along with the other metals besides those 8. A very powerful, charismatic, resourceful Mistborn, who was once a thief, who is the only prisoner to have ever escaped this place called the Pits of Hathsin, named Kelsier, is hired by this Ska leader named Yaden to help build an army in hopes of taking over the Lord Ruler city, the city where most of the story takes place in, the central dominance of the Final Empire, Luthadel. He hopes to make a huge change in the Final Empire, especially in the way the Ska are treated. And basically the entirety of the story is following a cast of characters that Kelsier has put together in order to accomplish Yaden's goal. The newest recruit on their team is a girl named Vin, a 16-year-old Ska girl who has lived on the streets as a thief for all of her life. She has spent her entire life scrounging around for food and being a part of thieving crews that treat her like shit. She has an abusive older brother that's basically taught her to never trust anyone, that everyone will eventually betray her, that anyone that she ever puts her trust in will leave her, anyone that she ever cares for will leave her, and he kind of proves this point by leaving her himself, never returning, leaving her alone with their thieving crew and their even more abusive leader. She is extremely paranoid and lives in fear pretty much constantly, but she has this power that she's pretty much had all her life that she doesn't really understand, and she calls it luck. She basically uses it to help out her thieving crews in kind of controlling the emotions of the people that the thieving crew needs to control. Her abilities are eventually picked up by Kelsier's crew, and Kelsier takes her in and kind of teaches her the ways of an Allomancer, the ways of a Mistborn. I mean, there's so much more I could say about the story. It might seem like I've said a lot already, but I've barely even scratched the surface in what goes on in this story. I really love this book so much. I just finished it last night, and I couldn't wait to do a review of it, and I couldn't wait to continue on with the series. There's just so many great ideas, so many great characters, so many interesting little twists and turns all throughout, and we learn so much about Allomancy, about the world that this is take place in, about the politics of it. In fact, the politics of this world is a huge focus in the story. They kind of use Vin as a way to get into the great houses of Luthadel, the noblemen that, underneath the Lord Ruler, kind of help control the wealth and the power of the Final Empire, and of that city specifically. We learn so much about Allomancy and how it works. We learn so much about all of the characters and become so attached to them. Kelsier and Vin, especially, the two main characters, are just really well done, but just all of the characters, all of them are meaningful, all of them have a purpose, and they all are just really well characterized. And just nothing happens all at once. The story is pretty long, but it is constantly moving, it's constantly exciting. The world building and the things we learn about Allomancy are just so satisfying because we learn them over a large period of time throughout the entirety of the book. Nothing is given to us all at once. Instead, it's spread out over the whole thing, over the course of the entire story, kind of making the picture of this place and the things that are possible in it more and more clear as we go along. And it's not just a story about Allomancy, about magic, about this world and its politics, although those are huge things in this book and really drive the plot. It's about the people, about this rebellion, and about the individual people that take part in it. Both Kelsier and Vin go through so many amazing changes and progressions in character throughout the whole story. Vin becomes so much more than what she started out as, and it's just an amazing character in general, one of my new favorite characters ever, honestly. And then Kelsier is just so much fun to read about. He's badass, he's kind of like a hero figure to a lot of people, but he's also just extremely likable because of his humanity, because of his flaws, because of the mistakes he makes, and because of the things he cares about. Everyone else on their team, and I don't want to go way too much into all of them because then I would be sitting here forever talking about all of them, but they're all just so interesting to read about, and you really connect to all of them because they all have something special going on in their personalities and in what they can do and what they contribute to the team. I just really fell in love with this story while I was reading it. Brandon Sanderson is an amazing storyteller. I can't believe how concrete this world was, how concrete Allomancy is, how interesting it is to follow the politics of this world, how interesting it is to learn about the Lord Ruler and about the Mistborn and about other abilities people can have in this world. For example, ferrochemists, which are similar to allomancers, but they can use metal to kind of store things. They use like metal bracelets and rings and other jewelry and things to store like ideas and knowledge and books and languages and religions, and they can take things from their own body like strength and eyesight and store them into metal to be used later on. There are these things called Mistwraiths, there are these things called Kandras, and there are just so many great things going on in this world, and I just felt fully immersed within it as I read about it. I just felt so happy reading this book pretty much the entire time. It was just so much fun to read. Nothing about it was made too difficult to understand. None of it was hard to follow. It was like an easy read, but it was just an incredibly fun read. One of the funnest reads I've ever had in my life. I honestly can't remember liking so many characters, so many aspects about the story and the world building of a book in a very long time. I'm so happy I picked this up. I can't recommend it enough to like fantasy fans, but also just people who might not even like fantasy that much. It's just a great story told brilliantly by an amazing storyteller. I'm so glad to see so many other people on BookTube picking this up right about now. I don't want to say way too much more about it. I kind of went in not knowing way too much about it. Kind of think that's the best way to go into it, and I'm just really happy with it. 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I'm reading the second book right now. I'm already 154 pages into it, and I can't wait to finish it. I can't wait to finish this series and read more by Brandon Sanderson because I really just love his writing style a lot. And then I can see why he's been so popular on BookTube lately. This is one of those series where it has a ton of hype surrounding it, and I think the hype is incredibly deserved because it is great. I honestly didn't know if I was expected to be as great as people were saying it was going to be, but it ended up being even better than I could have imagined, and I'm just really happy with it, and I hope you will pick it up and give it a shot if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked the review. Thanks, and I'll see you very soon.